Welcome to our Link G4 Plus live training session part 2 using our RB25 swapped S14 drift car. Now in the last video we created our base calibration file. In this video we're ready to get our engine fired off, learn how to set our idle, making sure that the engine's going to be holding its own stable idle so we can continue on with the calibration process. Also learning how to sync our timing with a timing light, and then making sure that the engine's going to fire up and run when we do hot warm starts, making sure that we have correct cranking fuel and post-start enrichment. We're going to have a lot to cover, so let's jump into our live training session here so we can get started. Welcome back to our live training session here with our RB25 swapped S14 drift car. In the last video, we learned how to build our base calibration file. This video, we're ready to get our engine fired up and running. We're going to be checking our timing, making sure the ignition timing synced to our link box, just verifying that all the sensor data looks okay, and getting the engine to just hold a stabilized idle so that the next video we can start a calibration process, actually start to drive the car. But this is always going to be kind of square one, step one, getting it fired up and running, which is always a challenge. There's always all kinds of things that you may not have thought of when you were setting up your base map that you might run into. So we're going to find out what happens in this video of getting the engine up and running. A couple things that I want to do before we actually crank over the engine and try to fire it up and see where we're at. First thing, we need to do our basic sensor check. This is going to be just reviewing all of our basic sensor information, making sure that it's going to be valid and we're not going to find any kind of surprises when we fire up the motor. So if a sensor's not wired right or calibrated right, we're not going to have any kind of odd behavior going on. So let's go up here to tuning and we can go into our runtime values. Now alternative to this, you could also keystroke F12. That'll bring the screen up for you to look at. Let's go here and just start to kind of poke through some of our runtime values. This is showing in the fuel all of the different fuel calculations that could be going on at any given time. We don't really have any basis for this right now, so we can kind of skip that. Ignition, same thing, any kind of ignition trims are going on here. This is a nice window to take a look at, but again, I don't have anything basis to look at this right now. Auxiliary, these are anything that we would potentially command on, so rad fan, tack output, fuel pump, boost solenoid, we could see the status of those, but again, the engine's not running right now, so we're key on engine off. Aux functions, these are all the auxiliary functions that we might be implementing. Again, nothing here is really pertinent. Digital, if we're taking a look, all of our digital parameters here really don't apply to the car. There are some things set: power steering, start position, left-right wheel speed, and AC request. But none of these are really utilized in the car. This was actually in the base calibration file that Link has set, so I'm not going to worry about those. Now, in the analog, we have set some unique things here. We're going to find analog 1 and 2. Those are off. 3 was set to throttle position. We're going to find here that the oil pressure was also set, 3.5 bar map sensor, and the AM wideband. So we can see what the status of all these are going to be. Now, I have the key off. Let me turn the key on right now and actually power that on. Right there, we can see that wideband's coming live. So this car is wired a little bit different than I probably would have wired it. It has a main kill switch that feeds the power into the ECU that powers it up, and then it has the actual ignition key that turns the starter on that also powers on the wideband. So I just had to turn the actual ignition key on to power up the wideband. But now we can see that's registering properly. It's showing here full lean on the Lambda, which is showing full lean on the display, so that's good. We see all of our statuses are okay. OK status is for all the voltages, so everything's connected properly. We do find that the analog data here, we find our coolant temp and air temp. Those are approximate to what I'm seeing in the dyno here. It's about 65, 66 degrees, so we're ballpark right there. So that looks good, indicating that the calibration scale is good. And we also see the status and all those circuits are good as well. Under general, this is just our generalized scaled values that we can take a look at. So engine RPM is 0, the engine's not running. Map pressure is 100. We have done that map learn or the map scaling, the check in that last video. So when we set the map sensor up, we were forced to do a map sensor. If we go to ECU controls, map sensor calibration, we have to do that. It compares the map sensor against the baro sensor, making sure that they both read right on key on engine off. If there's discrepancies, then there's a problem with the actual map sensor itself, wiring, or the sensor is bad. So we need to do that. We also did the TPS scale. So if we take a look at our TPS main, this represents the actual throttle position scaled value. So we can see here, if I move my throttle all the way to the floor, come all the way off the throttle, it is registered that from 0 to 100%. Now, it's really important that we register the 0% position. So that's probably the most important for working with idle control or deceleration fuel cut. We want to make sure that that's going to be working right. So that is, so we've done those, kind of skip. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.